Everyone has a story to tell. Welcome to DingoTalk, where we explore the experiences that make us who we are. Here's your host, Carlo Guadagnino.
What's going on, Chuckleheads, and welcome back to Season 3 of DingoTalk. I am Carlo Guadagnino, and for those of you that are new, check out our social media pages and where to find us. Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook. The only place you got to go look different is on Instagram. It's Dingo_talk instead of DingoTalk. If you go to DingoTalk, you're going to find some wild dogs, and that's not me. For those of you that are listening, watching, you can find us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, and YouTube. That's where you get everything that is DingoTalk. Leading into this season, we're going to be talking to a lot of OAC coaches, PAC coaches, some presidents, and I figured I should, after 140 some of these episodes, I should give you the purpose of what we're doing. So the purpose of this episode is to get to know head coach of Baldwin Wallace football, Coach Hilvert. We're going to find out why Division III, why he decided to get into coaching as opposed to with his poli-sci degree, not going into the teaching side of things. We're also going to find out who Jim is, Jim the person. We're going to get a little bit of personality out of this guy, and there's a lot of it there. I promise you that. I also have some questions that I'm looking at. You know, I played in the PAC. I know I watched the PAC. I covered the PAC. The OAC, is it the best division or conference in Division III football? Jim feels that it's the SEC of Division III football. And he's going to explain why that is. The other big part of this brand new endeavor, other than the new set that we have, is the introduction to the editorial, which is a little segment at the end of the show where our editor and director, Serenity Brown, is going to come with her questions from editing, plus the questions that I was supposed to get the answers to at the beginning of each show. And we're going to have a conversation about it at the end and see what what I did right, what I did wrong. But the overarching purpose of this show and the shows to come are, especially with the college coaches, is for the parents and the players and people that might be interested in going to these respective schools. You get to see this coach in a different light. He's relaxed, he's having a conversation, and not to say that he's not going to be that with you, but these are answers that may be questions that you didn't have. Hopefully you get the answers. Without further ado, I'll see you at the end of the episode, Chuckleheads. Coach, thank you for joining us here on our first episode of Season 3.
Oh, thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. You know, I as I told you off camera, we're gonna take you down a path, and we're gonna bring you all the way back to here to 2023. We're gonna start you back there in 1989, and your decision to go to St. Joseph's. Now, was that the only school looking at you? Were there other schools that it came down to, and why was St. Joseph's the choice?
I think the three schools I looked at was St. Joe's, University of Dayton, and Butler University, and all three obviously felt like were good schools. But at that time, Randy Bates was recruiting me out of St. Joe's. He's now the defensive coordinator at the University of Pittsburgh. He did a really good job recruiting me, and you know I ended up there. I had a really good rapport with him. Obviously, I liked the guys I met when I went on campus. And then the other guy that really played an impact on me was Brian Rock, who is now at Ferris State, coaching at Ferris State, and he won 2 national championships. But 2 guys that helped me get to St. Joe's. I noticed the difference out in the middle of nowhere with a bunch of cornfields. But it was, for me, it was the right place. Met a lot of good people along the journey. Ended up majoring in political science at that time. And to be honest with you, did not know I was going to go into college football. Thought I was going to be a lawyer, took the LSAT, went back to Cincinnati, and took a detour. That wasn't my passion in life. Certainly what I found out was coaching college football. Brian Rock calls me up about 3 or 4 days before camp starts at Western Michigan University and says, "Hey, Jim, can you be here in 3 days?" I said, "Heck yeah." Fill up a Toyota Corolla and ended up going up to Kalamazoo, Michigan, and coaching at Western Michigan University.
Now let's talk about your time at Western Michigan, because that's where you go from. You have a poli-sci degree. You were going down the path as being a lawyer, realizing it's not what I want to do. Now you're going to Western Michigan. You're going to get a sports administration master's. What did that experience do for you moving forward towards your coaching career?
You find out if you really love football, and for me, you're working 80 hours a week, maybe more. You're doing all kind of different things. For me, it's embracing the grind. You find out what coaching is all about. To be honest with you, and Brian Rock, Dwayne Chambers, all those guys that I had the fortune to work with, really helped me become a good football coach, because you find out how it is to run a football program, how it is to break down a film, in all those things. And I learned a lot from those guys, and it was a great experience. Those 2 years really helped me start my path and getting involved in being a football coach.
Now, do you immediately jump to college football, or do you get your feet wet in high school and then work your way into going to college?
Yes, I came back to Cincinnati after I left Western Michigan after I got my sports administration degree. I came back and I coached at Oak Hills High School under Steve Sheehan. He's a legendary coach in Cincinnati, did an unbelievable job. Has won state championships at Cape High School. Great experience, learned a lot from him. And Troy Everhart, he was our defense coordinator, and I coached defensive backs under him, learned a lot. And then I went from there to Witten Woods. Witten Woods has won a state championship, I believe, now twice, and Troy was one of the head coaches. We learned a lot. And after that experience, high school and college, I was itching to get back to college. And in 2000, made the jump back into college and went to Mount St. Joe University.
And so you're the assistant head coach there, you're defensive coordinator at Mount St. Joseph University now, but at the time it was the College of Mount St. Joseph, correct?
That is correct. That is correct.
So now we're talking 2000. I want to kind of do a little split here. What's the recruitment differences then to now?
For me, recruiting, obviously, we had recruiting, to be honest, which is crazy that like it is now. Until like maybe late November, December. You're hitting the road. Everybody has the same schedule. You hit the road. You recruit. You're done by, we'll say, springtime, kind of like May 1st, we'll say. Mm-hmm. And then during summer, there wasn't all these one-day camps and having people on campus, having visits and all this stuff that goes on in the month of May and June. Now, I mean, in summertime, we had over 200 visits in the summer. We had back in the day in the year 2000, we weren't doing all that because people, weren't doing that. And the clock has been sped up so much with recruiting. Kids are on the battle with social media and all those other things that are going on. You get kids on immediately in May and June, and that has really been it's a crazy calendar now, to be honest with recruiting.
Now, what was the experience like at MSJU? I believe is how that would kind of shorten that.
It's funny that you said for me, I look back at it. My first 2 years, we were really bad. We were a bad program. We were one of the worst programs in the country. Mm-hmm. And when we went 0-10 in 2001, things changed after that year. We started we started working with recruiting, transfers, going out on the battle on the road in the Cincinnati, Northern Kentucky area. Guys being interested because they have a chance to come in right away and make an impact. And in 2002, with the off season we had, transfers, the recruiting class we brought in, things started changing. We went to 5-5 in 2002, and that was the year that we started moving along and started really building out great culture. The next year we went 6-4, and after that we went 10-0. And you can see the things were changing. We got guys that were really good football players. It was neat to see you go from losing 16 to 17 games in a row to now going to 10-0, going to the NCAA playoffs in 2004, and things changing. And built a new facility, and then it started piling up 2004, 2005, 2006. We got a little, and things were going really, really well in Mount St. Joe.
Well, and I think this is going to be a theme now that we're into the coaching resume. From the interviews that I watched previously, this culture that you build where you go. For those who don't know, Coach has a 103-35 record career-wise, and as we're going to see, there's these next two programs, really three actually, if we want to include the high school program in between. this is what you do. You build a winning culture. You go in, get your hands dirty. Why is that? What is it about what is the culture that you built, I guess, is my question.
For me, it's all about hard work. It's all about toughness. It's all about that lunch pail mentality. It's about making kids not knowing now things are not going to be easy, not going to be handed to you. That you're going to face adversity in life. You're going to face adversity in a football season. And to be able to handle that, be able to cope with that, and to be able to have that excitement and juice every single day that kids want to gravitate to you and be around you. And they know that anything can happen, anything can be possible, because in 2001 and 2, I know people was probably, there's no way they would ever win. And then when things started changing, you could see obviously the excitement around the program and things that were going on. Things did, and I think it all has to do with culture, with guys wanting to pay the price to be a champion every single day and putting the time in.
And that lunch pail hard hat mentality that got to be etched in a guy from Cincinnati, similar Pittsburgh guy, Cleveland people. That's what the cities are about. So it really captures a lot of the areas that you've been. So we got to 2006. You guys have gone. You're really on a roll at Mount St. Joe. How does the Thomas More opportunity come about?
Obviously, I think because of us winning, obviously us changing things around, and to be honest with you, Thomas More was the guy on the block in the Cincinnati area. They were really, really good, and then things started changing with recruiting good players for us, and us having the opportunity of beating them a couple of times, and us winning. We get an opportunity to get an interview at Thomas More University. Obviously, the biggest thing for me too, we're rivals, so that was tough. At first, kind of awkward. But I wanted to be a head coach. It was time for me to be a head coach. It was the right time for me to be a head coach. And in 2007, Terry Connor and Sister Stallmeyer gave me the opportunity to be a head football coach. And I thank them still today, because it was obviously a great experience. And it was unbelievable 8 years, and obviously unbelievable run I had at Thomas More.
And just again, since I'm a big stat guy, especially when it comes to football, 67 and 19, 4 straight playoff appearances, 6 PAC titles in a conference that up until Thomas More's arrival was pretty much dominated by one school in Washington, Pennsylvania. What were some of those games like? What was the PAC like? And why was Thomas More so successful in the PAC?
To be honest with you, the fruits of web for us in 2007, we had to change what was going on in the program. And, we knew we were going to take some lumps that first year, because we had to, guys don't jump on training. That some of those guys are like, well, I didn't choose you, to be a head football coach. So, some guys leave, and don't like the way you're doing things, or certain things you're doing. So we knew that we had to take our lumps. We did. We went 4-6. And then we went out and recruited really, really hard. And with that recruitment in 2008, we had some really good football players that helped us get over the hump. And the other thing, too, people forget it. My 2 best football players in 2007 were hurt. Both guys, they had torn ACLs. Trevor Stallman on offense as a quarterback. This time it's an All-American linebacker. And when they came back healthy, and our culture started building and getting some good players, 2008, we took it and went with it. And I think we did surprise some programs because of how big a jump we made from 2007 to 2008 for us.
Now, was there ever a problem? Because, the demographic of the President's Athletic Conference is, northern Pennsylvania, and you come down all the way to what was Bethany, I think was the furthest south you got. And then Thomas More was that. Was travel ever an issue? Did you guys ever feel tired getting off the bus, or was that a little bit more motivation of like, oh yeah, we're coming up here and we're gonna do our thing?
I think for us, the trips I think helped us bond as a team and as a program. Those hours on the bus and being together all the time, I think really also helped us as a football program, being together all the time and not making those trips. And we going into. Obviously, the team in Washington, PA was the team that was obviously winning all the time, and that was the team that we had to shoot for at that time too. Waynesburg had a good football program going on with Coach Hilvert. So we really had some goals that we had to aim for. And in 2008, I know the American quarterback with Bobby Swallow, a lefty. We played really well in the game, and it was one heck of a football game to win our first championship in 2008. It was unbelievable.
Now we're going to take a pause from the athletics because I have to add, there's two questions here. One, how did you meet your spouse? How'd you meet your wife?
I met my spouse at Mount St. Joe. So she was my wife, was at Mount St. Joe working facilities. And then I met her, and then she left and went to another college. And then we ended up getting married in 2004. 2004 was a great year. Won the first championship and got married.
And I got to ask about, again, like I said, I did some research. I was watching an interview. This interview, they would have been in 5th grade. The Hilvert hitters. Yeah. And they're twins. So yeah. How is the twin hitters progressing?
They're 7th graders. They're football, baseball players. Had a really good football year. Went 12-1 this past year. They are defensive linemen and offensive linemen. And very proud of them. They did a really good football year. We had a lot of fun with the hitters, social media and stuff like that. I know we're getting ready for baseball season. And then my daughter, Joy, she's a junior in high school, and she's a hoopster. So she plays basketball.
So you're right in the middle of hoop season right now. I mean, nonstop.
Nonstop.
And then if you could sit down with, let's go with 3 football coaches, any time period, if you could sit down with 3 football coaches and have a beer, who would they be and
why? Nick Saban would be one.
Okay.
Is what you get. He is not happy if he wins. He's not happy if he loses. He's all about winning. The other guy I would say, Bill Parcells, would be another guy I would love to get that opportunity to talk to when you talk about football-wise, what he did. And then probably the other guy for me would be Vince Lombardi.
Okay.
My 3 guys.
So, I mean, you can't have a better conversation with 3 football heads. I mean.
Yes.
So in 2015, why make the jump down to high school? Why leave college? What was going through?
There was for me, and honestly, that's a great question. I felt like we kind of plateaued at Thomas More. 2014, I knew we had a great team coming back in 15 and 16, but I felt like we were there at playing that second round in the NCAA playoffs. Mm-hmm. And I guess another opportunity, another challenge, I guess, in front of me. Grad went to Salle High School, and I played in the GCL. Going back to Salle and being able to do that was a different experience. Coached some really good football players. Those 2 years, guys that obviously have gone to the higher levels and stuff. It was different. And you have to handle yourself different. For me, as obviously becoming a high school football coach, and obviously in the GCL.
Now, very successful 2 years, back-to-back OHSAA. I practiced that like 6 times, and I knew I wasn't good. I still had to look down. Like you said, great football players. Those 2 years lead into this opportunity where you are now, being the 4th coach since 1957. Why the jump back in?
I wanted to go back to college so bad. I was hoping to, as I go into Salle and being successful and stuff, to be able to have another opportunity to go back to coach. Baldwin Wallace was rich in football tradition. When the job opened up, and it, like you said, it fit me. You talk about Cincinnati, Pittsburgh, Cleveland. That kind of fit me mentality, the location, the mentality of people, the fit, lunch pail, hard hat mentality, fit me. And playing in the OAC was a big deal too. I think it's a great conference. Meat grinder, as you want to call it. Just that opportunity to be able to do that was there, and I really appreciate obviously Chris Tyus at that time giving me an opportunity to be at BW.
Well, and I've seen you quoted as saying that you feel the OAC is the SEC of Division III. Try to say that 17 times fast. Holy, there was a lot of. Now, obviously, Mount Union's in that conference, but there's a lot of other good football, really good football, top caliber football in Division III. What's it like knowing going week in and week out that you're getting some of the best football in the country?
There's no doubt. I mean, you can't take anybody lightly. That's the thing. I mean, every team's well coached. Everybody's in as a head coach, just doing everything they can to get great players and recruit their butts off to get those players. Mm-hmm. And everybody's well coached. They're fundamentally sound. Every week you have to be ready to play emotionally too. If not, you're going to get beat. And like you said, I mean, besides, like you said, Mount Union, you have Honor Northern, Oliver, John Fair, I mean, Muskegon, the list goes on and on. Honor Capital. You better be ready to play because if you're not, you're going to get beat. And you got to have the kids ready to go every single week. Got to be well prepared every single week. And honestly, I think it's a great challenge. I think that's made me a better football coach.
Now, let's talk about this year real quick, and then we'll kind of bounce back because there's a couple other things I want to talk to you about with the program. I did the math. Your 3 losses combined, and I don't want to open any fresh wounds. I know the season. There's 3 losses, and the total loss of the 3 games is 19 points. There was a 14-point loss, there's a 2-point loss, and there's a 3-point loss in there. The 2-point loss is the one that gets a little bit more national attention with it being the last play of the game. What is the bulletin board material right now in the weight room for this team?
It's for us, and I think as we're going in, it's we above me is the first thing, and it's complete the mission. We were so close in some games that we have to complete the mission, and for us, we have to take care of the little things, and the little things take care of the big things, and those can't get overlooked ever. And for us, you said it. We got to a rough start. To be honest, in the season, we're going 1-2. The first 4 out of 5 games hit on the road. I think we finally got back on track. There's 2 crazy games against Ohio Northern and Marietta. It helped with some confidence with our team. We started coming closer together, and then we went on a run. And then our game against Heidelberg was unbelievable. We were down 13-0 in a windstorm. There was like 30-mile winds that day, that Saturday, and came back and won obviously a crazy game in overtime. And I think that gave us confidence going into the last game of the season. We were down 17-0, but the kids never wavered, never flinched with the face of adversity, and put ourselves in the opportunity to win that game. And I'm really proud of us. I know that everybody thinks about our last play, but we did some really good things in that game that get overlooked. And I was really proud of our guys how hard they fought to get in to be involved in that game.
Now, this is you're going into your 7th year, correct?
Yeah. You think about that, yeah. Our official will be here 6 years, January 21st, and it would be the 6th official full season.
Okay. So, and in that time, you've gone 36-15 out of conference, 30-15 in the conference, and you were the 2021 Coach of the Year. What was it about last year, or I guess now 2 seasons ago? What was it that got you Coach of the Year? Why? What was about that team? What was special about that year?
The senior class was a really special class, and because of the COVID, I really believe that those guys and what they went through in the spring of 2021 was crazy. And I think they learned a lot about themselves, about what they can overcome, adversity-wise, all the things that they did helped them become a really strong football team. And I knew when we went on the trip to Hampton City, 8 hours away, we were as a team, and we were winning the game. I thought they were a good team, some talent. I knew I thought we had I think we had a pretty good team here. Mm-hmm. And that kind of put us in the rest of the year. That year, won some close games. They were a close football team that year. Had some really good leadership, and ended up getting us to 8-2.
Well, and I guess again, there's this culture word that comes into play. You're talking about when you described it originally was life's going to throw you adversity. And for everybody that graduated in the spring of 2021 or 2020, there was no more adversity than being told, hey, go home, go sit in your door. You're going to sit at home. You're going to be on a computer. And I think it's great to see that football program athletics really has been able to kind of go over that hump, especially with the way things progressed with the spring season to get everything in. We've come to our Baldwin Wallace question for you since we're here.
Okay.
What legendary CBS crew called the Baldwin Wallace Wittenberg game during the 1982 season, and who won?
The call's going to kill me because I just saw this recently too. I can't say Brent Musburger because it probably was not Brent Musburger.
It's not. I'll give you that hint. It was not.
It was not. What was it, guys? Lance or was he? No.
John Madden and Pat Summerall.
Summerall and John Madden.
And
That's
BW got the win.
BW got the win. Yep.
So while we're talking BW, Baldwin Wallace, I heard through the grapevine that you consider yourself a food connoisseur. And that if I'm ever at the school, I need to go to Mike's and I need to get the buffalo chicken egg roll. Did I get that right?
You definitely need to get the buffalo chicken egg roll. I would definitely recommend that. It's really, really good. Mike's has great food, and I'd be happy to meet you there and treat you.
Well, we might make a trip out of this sometime. I might take you up on that. I got to ask, being a guy from Cincinnati, now being in Cleveland, was there any, I'm a Cincinnati guy, and I know Cleveland's out there. It's kind of the lost city by the lake, or I don't know the exact phrasing, but what was it like going from Cincinnati to Cleveland?
Well, that's another good question. You hear all these things, like you got Cincinnati, you hear this, you hear all these bad things. I really like, the Metro Parks, all the different things that go on in Cleveland, things that have been built up and renovated and things like that. The difference between Cincinnati and Cleveland, to be honest with you, is just that Cincinnati has hills and Cleveland's flat. It's flat. We honestly, Cleveland, always have some wind, which is in the summer, but there's not that much of a difference. But I've been very impressed with Cleveland. Obviously, the area that I work in and I live in and all this stuff like that. But it's been a really good experience, to be honest with my last 6 years here.
Now, I preface this at the beginning, a little basketball. We got a little basketball player in you, from what I hear as well. You're a true 1980s, 1990s big guy. You're down on the block, real physical. Nobody wants to come in the middle.
I'm old Detroit Pistons. No one gets allowed.
No, you're one of the bad boys. You're not getting anything for free.
For free, no free layups.
And then, can I get the story, so I know that there's a lifting weight room injury story that you like to share?
It's an unbelievable story. In 2003, this is crazy. It was 3/3/03. So it was March 3rd, 2003. I'm in the weight room. I'm spotting a young man that has 500 pounds on the rack. He comes out of the rack. He stumbles and drops the weight. So as he drops the weight, I push him forward to get him, away. And then I try to get away from the bar, and my hand gets caught between the bar and the safety rack. So my finger comes off immediately there. Looks like a Halloween movie, one of those horror movies that you see with stuff. Chris Ampatip and Eric Johnson, all the rest of those guys that were there, that could be put in a position to be safe and getting taken care of. Joe Fallhawk, the assistant coach that was there, they did an unbelievable job in honestly a crazy situation. But you had to know when it went down, and it was away from that day.
Dang, I thought I was gonna get I thought you were gonna lead me in with it got bit by, I was fishing and a shark got me, or I thought you were gonna give me some lead in there, but we'll take it. I like the truth.
That's usually where I go. I was wrestling with a shark, but that's a true story right there. But yeah, it was unbelievable. It was a bad day for me in the weight room.
So, Coach, I wanna kind of shift to more talk. We're going to talk about the sport, and we're going to talk about kind of the state of college football.
Okay.
First and foremost, the sport has been under a microscope. How do we improve safety? From your aspect, you've coached now for 14 years, 20 years if you count before you were a head coach. What has changed? I feel like football has gotten drastically safer, and trying to say we're going to make it completely safe is not really, it's never going to happen. It's a physical combat. It's a combat sport almost.
No, you're right. I mean, we have definitely made steps on making the game safer. They really have. And honestly, you can't make it completely safe because it's football. I mean, it's just people out there running into each other. I mean, just the way it is. But teaching the guys to tackle, taking the head out of the game the way we tackle, the targeting rules, all that stuff is really good stuff to help and teach young men, obviously guys, how to do it the right way, and to take out injuries and all that stuff. I think we have really gone down that path of being able to do that. I think that's great. But the great game of football, you can't take everything out. Injuries is just part of the game. It's going to happen.
And is that something, so when you're sitting down and you're talking to a parent, obviously, when you're, as a college coach specifically, you're recruiting someone who's played the game, they played it at a high level, that they're getting recruited, so they understand the risk that they're undertaking, correct? This isn't like we're dropping that football is a dangerous sport on somebody. Everybody kind of understands the risks that go into it.
Yeah, and the thing too, like we talk about now how things are, like in practice, I would say most coaches aren't going full goal anymore. These days are over with. Yeah. No one's taking a chance because you need to have your best players healthy to be able to win on Saturdays or Friday nights. I mean, that's the truth. And so people are out there, being careless and, having guys run into each other and not being smart. Those guys are practicing smart. Obviously, the NCAA has cut back on the full contact you can have. People are standing. People are being a lot smarter on how to practice compared to what was in the 1880s. People were getting into a lot of stuff during practice.
I still remember 2 and 3 days. I remember those days, and I don't ever want to go back. I don't think. I might go back. I lie. I would go back.
Like you said, it was 2 and 3 days. Now you have one practice. So, I mean, those kind of restriction stuff, I think, have helped put kids in a safer place.
Now, I don't know, and correct me if I'm wrong with asking this question this way. Would you say Division III is the last pure side of college football, with all the NIL and the scholarships are not available at the Division III level when it comes to athletics? They are for academics, but so is that give a purity to Division III football, or are we all kind of on the same playing field now with NIL?
I mean, it's as pure as you can get it. I would say D3 is. I mean, you see some things trickle down some a little bit now, but compared to what's going on at the Division I and Division II level and stuff, we're not even close to all that stuff that's going on right now.
So you're telling me that the transfer portal isn't just a revolving door in the Division III level where every quarterback's on the market?
Yeah, it's not been like, and obviously it had changed. Maybe it can, but it's not. I have not seen that. You see a little bit more people transferring and stuff, but it's not like what's going on right now at the Division I level.
Now, from your standpoint, when you're recruiting a player, what are you looking for in an athlete?
Honestly, the guy has to be able to play. That would be one. The other thing, too, academically, he has to be able to make it in our college. Academically, is he a good fit, too, on top of being athletically? The other thing is passion for the game / work ethic. Does he really love the great game of football? And that kind of goes into my next thing. Will he work at it? Does he want to be in the weight room? Does he want to work at his craft? Which catching balls with a jugs machine, whatever I may do as a DB, does he want to do that? What kind of character does he have? You know, is he a good kid, bad kid? You know, when he faces a little adversity, how does he act if things don't go his way? Those type of things I think are big when you're trying to recruit a kid. You know, that's going to be part of your program and part of your culture.
And then once you've recruited someone, they're a part of your team, what is the dynamic between coach and player for you? Because you have players for years.
Yeah. For me, it's like my door's always open. The best part I do is when guys come in and talk to me about what's going on, how they break us, how Christmas was. I love having obviously a close relationship with all my players. I want them to know that I want to well for them, and I know obviously they'll do the same thing for me on Saturday afternoons. I mean, I'll be there for them once these next 4 years, but also a lifetime. That 10 years down the road, you know, those type of things. Are they get a job promotion? But I'm one of the guys that they call because, you know, the experience that we had together was 4 years, all those blood, sweat, and tears you put in together means a lot. That relationship means a lot.
Why Division III? Why would, if you're recruiting an athlete to, and again, we talked about how there's no scholarships, but that does not mean that the talent level is any, I mean, you got an abundance of talent in Division III.
The talent, and you, I mean, in our leagues, I don't think they only see 2 year teams. I mean, we got some great football players. And I tell people all the time, don't look at the number after the D. Pick a place that's going to fit you academically, socially, athletically, where you fit in, where you can obviously, it sets you up for the rest of your life after you graduate, a degree that means something, where you can play and make a difference, where you can win. Go to a place like that so you can have some fun playing a great game of football.
And because why Division III? Why Baldwin Wallace?
For me, and I tell people, it's the people that you're around every single day. We have facilities, we have all that other stuff, but I think it's the people we have here every day, from professors to the coaching staff to the style of play to our location to obviously degrees that are going to mean something. All alumni base that eats, sleeps, beat on the football. They love it. They love the nation. To be part of things, to be part of something special. And for us in particular, we're climbing up the mountain, and we're kind of right there. Now it's time for us to take it up to the mountain and be part of that journey to do that. I think that says something too about a young man.
When you said you brought up a point, as you brought up the alumni, I had them on my notes. That was the next question I was going to ask you. You have a very, very interesting, supportive, crazy fan base. If I can, what is it? Why does the alumni stay? Why do they keep coming back? And what is it about their support that helps both the college and the program?
Just being around them now for the last 6 years and hearing their stories, it's Lee Tressel, it's the Bob Packards, the Watts, John Shannon, all those guys that have made an impact on our lives. They want to come back because they have put them in a better place. They have made them a better man and a better person to put them in the position they are right now. And to be, obviously, be successful, to be a great husband, to be a great dad, all those things. That's why we want to give back. And obviously, they had great experiences. And I love their passion for obviously BW football. I really do. It's been unbelievable. You know, I want to make them proud. So when we go out on the field and we fight our butts off for those 60 minutes, that we make them proud of what we're putting out there on the football field.
Last question, Coach.
Yeah.
What was a question that you were expecting to get today that I did not ask you, and how would you have answered it?
I thought you asked some really good. You asked some really good questions. To be honest, I never from 89 to where we're at now. I mean, they've been really good questions and kind of where we're at. And every stint I had it from St. Joe to Thomas More to BW. Actually, my short thing at LaSalle. I think that was you did some really good. You did good stuff. So,
well, thank you for that. I appreciate it. Thank you for taking the time to join us. And before I send you off, if anybody wants to get in contact with you or keep up to date with Baldwin Wallace football and Coach Hilvert, where can they find you?
Twitter, Coach Hilvert. As you can find us, find me in there. Keep up to date. Keep up to date with the football program we're driving. Let's see. Usually, talking about BW football and see my career where I've been so far. Honestly, that inspires some more people that want to get involved in coaching and making a difference in people's lives.
Well, Coach, thank you again for stopping by with us. Thank you guys for joining us. And as I said, this is the first episode of season 3. So we are going to send it to our newest segment. We're kind of throwing some stuff to the wall and seeing what works and what doesn't. This segment is going to be the editor's audit. This has been Baldwin Wallace head football coach Jim Hilvert. Thank you very much, and good luck this year. And I might see you in Cleveland.
Carlo, take your mics. Better show up. I'd love to see you.
We'll get it scheduled, I promise.
Okay, sounds good.
What's going on, Chuckleheads? I am Carlo Guadagnino. You just watched Dingo Talk, Season 3 premiere with head coach of Baldwin Wallace football, Jim Hilvert. This is the editorial with Serenity Brown, my guest here. Serenity Brown, the editor of this show. Well, I'll let you go first. Serenity, what did you think of the show as a whole? And then we'll get into your notes. Just a quick overview, and then we'll jump in.
Well, first, let's talk about the new intro. Yeah, hair flip, because I think it's...
Did you see there was some volume back in that one?
I just think it's the best...
For all you think I'm going bald, there was definitely some flippage there. So, go ahead. The intro. Why the intro? What was the inspiration behind it? Why did you decide to go that route with the intro?
So when I first came up with the idea, I wanted something that would fit both you and the show, obviously. And when thinking of different intros, like, yeah, the pictures are cool. We went with, at first, different clips of you from the show, and none of them just felt right. And I feel like getting the different clips of you preparing for the show really tied everything together.
Well, I mean, that is the routine every time.
And I think it was a happy little accident that it was kind of like a little play off of The Sopranos. So.
Well, I don't think I'm James Gandolfini by any stretch of the imagination, but my hairline might become his at some point. So we have that. So I am very excited for how people are going to react to the intro when people notice it, and if they don't like it, well, skip over it. There's still a lot of show to go, so skip over that if you don't like it. But so the overview from the editor's point of view, what was your overview, and then we'll get into your. I see you have notes here. You've come prepared. We'll see how that goes.
Yeah. So
I have notes too, just so you know. I'm coming to these half-cocked.
I think the biggest thing about it was definitely the audio. It was not the greatest. No fault of his own. Sometimes audio just doesn't cooperate. That's true. But for me, editing this episode was a little bit hard, especially I think it was a mix of the audio and then not.
We are a sports person.
Yeah, exactly. They don't know.
With the struggle in the audio, I guess that makes it a little harder for you when you are trying to learn, but at the same time when you're struggling to hear it.
Yeah, it kind of all made it a big mush for me.
Mm-hmm.
So it was kind of hard to understand what was going on.
And how did you feel I did with answering the questions that I had set out in the beginning to do?
I think you did pretty well. There was one though. You got to get your facts straight.
Because I gave him an extra year?
Because you gave him an extra year.
Okay, well, Rome wasn't built in a day. Let's calm down there. What else what else you got written down here on your paper?
Here I have, because I didn't quite, I got the first name for the 3 people he would sit down and have a drink with, who was Nick Saban. I didn't hear the other 2, so I guess I'm going with, who's that?
Nick Saban?
Yeah.
The head coach of Alabama.
Okay.
Wins a lot.
Okay.
Wins a lot.
Cool. And then...
Well, while we're on the coach topic, he did invite us to Baldwin Wallace to see a game, and that he was going to take us to Mike's for some, if my notes are correct, buffalo chicken egg rolls.
I wrote it on my paper. I don't know if it was because I was hungry while editing, but I wrote, I want a buffalo chicken egg roll.
So you're telling Coach that we will be making an appearance.
Yeah, that sounds good.
All right, so we'll be going to Mike's. Coach, that's on you. When this comes out, you make the reservations or whatever we're going to do, and we'll make the plans, and we'll be up for a game. That being said, what are you excited about with because again, you're not a sports person, and a lot of my guests focus around sports or participating in some way, commentating, etc. What are you excited for in season 3 here?
I think it'll give me the chance to understand a little bit better. I feel like as the episodes go along, I'll probably learn some terms, so I'm not completely looking at an episode and going, oh. But like on that, even though yes, the show should be focused on like what they do and stuff like that, I think you should also do some, who are they as a person? Well,
we're getting there. I'm trying. That's why we asked the question. And it's interesting. You brought up the 3 people, which you shouldn't have done. You shouldn't have done that. Are there, for those of you that remember the last episode of season 2, we were very stumped, even though we've had the questions for multiple months. We were very stumped at who the 3 people were that we would sit down with. Have we put any thought into it?
No.
None.
No.
None whatsoever.
I've been busy.
Okay. You won't be soon.
I won't be soon.
Okay. Shout out to Bed Bath & Beyond for that. BBB. Triple B's.
Give me time.
All right.
I'll think of it eventually, and we'll let you know.
All right. Can I give you some feedback?
Sure.
I think you should have come with better notes. Like if you're gonna when you next week when we have Coach Donaldson on from Heidelberg, and listen, Brian Sampson, you're another one. I gotta address him. Because we're gonna roll into our Bethany people. So I gotta address this. Coach, I make some comments about your beard. It's not that it's not a good beard. It's up there in my beards of beards. But this Coach Donaldson with Heidelberg, what a beard. And it's in the episode. I
haven't edited yet,
we take a break to admire each other's beards. There's a whole beard like, wow, you have a nice beard, I have a nice beard. The other big thing I think that I took away, and this will be the last bit of wrap up before we finish it up. And I've taken this from a couple of the coaches, so I'm previewing. One, it's really cool that I got the honor to talk to one of the winningest coaches. And yes, that's how you pronounce it. Winningest coaches. Winningest coaches. At the time, when we talk about his time at Thomas More, he was actively really good, and he's continued that 103-35 over 14 years as a career. That being said, the other coaches in this league that we're going to get the opportunity to talk to, we've had the opportunity to talk to, they all say the same thing. Anybody can get beat in the OAC. Now, obviously, there is the top dog. Mount Union's in the OAC, so it helps with that. That's the number 2 team in the country right now, as we sit today. But every team in that conference has a very strong roster. I hope we get a couple more coaches from the conference on to talk about their teams. I hope that the coaches understand that this is an opportunity for both of us. I get to learn about them. We get to learn about their programs and who they are. And we get to teach this nice young lady about the beautiful game of football. And if there's not a more American thing than teaching this beautiful woman next to me the game of football, then I don't know what's right. So with that being said, you can follow us on the social medias. Again, it's Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook. The only thing different is DingoTalk it's Dingo_talk on Instagram. You can listen to us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, and anywhere else you get podcasts. And you can watch us on YouTube every Thursday at 10 a.m. Thank you. Will you be back next week? Come with better notes. Let's have an actual discussion.
I'll try so much harder.
I would like to have a real discussion with you. Maybe see that feisty side that they don't know about. Because Jin's guys don't know I speaks good English. So that being said, anything else you would like to add? Send them off with before I
don't think so.
All right. Well, we'll see you next week then, Chuckleheads.
Thanks for checking out this episode of Dingo Talk. Don't forget to rate, comment, and subscribe. For more info and to contact the show, you can find us on Twitter @DingoTalk.